Welcome to Vida Tennis, the podcast for those of us who eat, sleep, breathe tennis. Today, we get to hear from Bill Riddle, head coach of men's and women's tennis team at the University of Tennessee Southern. He has been in the tennis industry for over 35 years and is a PTR International Master Professional, USPTA Master Professional, and belongs to the Global Professional Tennis Coaches Association. Bill has received several tennis teaching awards, most recently being honored as a 2021 USPTA Southern Pro of the Year. He has served as a speaker at a multitude of coaching conferences around the world, on-air TV announcer and commentator for the Dallas Open on ESPN, and MC for a number of professional tennis and pickleball events. As you can see, Bill has served in all aspects of the tennis industry, including serving as director of tennis at Bluegrass Yacht and Country Club and tournament director for the Music City Tennis Invitational Pro-Am and team tournament held annually to benefit the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital Child Development Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome, Bill, to Vida Tennis. Did I get all of that right?
That is a mouthful right there.
You've done a lot, so.
You know what that means is I'm just old.
You've done so many different types of things within the industry, so I think that that's really interesting. So it's kind of tricky, like where do we start? But I like to start at the beginning, at least for how you got started in the industry. Maybe can you kind of walk us through how you got started in teaching tennis? And yeah, how did you get started in all this?
It was really a lucky opportunity for me, but maybe some people would say, gosh, that was kind of a bad setup. You know, the whole goal was for me to go off and try to play college football and go a different route. And a long time ago, I had an auto accident with a drunk driver, hit me head on, and kind of changed my life drastically, but honestly for the better, because without that car wreck, I would not have found my way into tennis. I'd always played and always been a huge fan, and found my way into a spot just at a club and kind of worked my way up. And next thing you know, it's 36 years later, and I've been able to teach tennis and coach tennis and travel the world, and all because of that little yellow fuzzy tennis ball. So really kind of an interesting start, but I wouldn't change it, honestly.
Yeah, my gosh, that what a story. And did you grow up playing tennis, play tennis and football, or did you pick up tennis after?
No, so like back in the old days when we were growing up, kids would play everything. So we played, baseball and football and basketball and soccer, and I mean anything that we could, because back then we didn't have smartphones, so we were outside all the time. And so yeah, I'd always kind of played at tennis, but we were from a small area outside of Nashville, and tennis was not popular. I mean, there was literally like a tobacco field across the street from me, and not your typical country club upbringing. But I'd always loved it, and I was probably horrible at it as a kid, and we just kind of like found a way to play wherever I could, and got lucky enough to, I mean, I guess maybe just be athletic enough from all these other sports to be decent.
No, that's really cool. And I feel like sometimes for people that get into tennis later in life, it's like they maybe it's because they don't get burned out as early, but they have a deeper passion for the sport, or tend to have a deeper passion for the sport most of the time than people that like start really young, and then by the time they're in college, they're like they don't want to see a tennis racket. So which has been your favorite setting in the coaching world? Is it college coaching? Did you enjoy being at a club? What's been your favorite?
Well, I mean, I think by design early on, my plan was to try to do as much as I could to kind of just figure out where I wanted to be, because I kind of did a little take of coaches when I got into the business, and this was like 1988. And there was a lot of people that were just kind of burnt out on just teaching tennis. They were at a club, they made a lot of money, they just fed balls and they taught tennis all day long, but they weren't really happy with the sport. And so by design, I said, I'm not going to go that route. I want to try to do a lot of different things and figure it out. And I think doing a lot of things just kind of led to doing a lot of more things. And,
Yeah.
I enjoy, I think I've got the best job in the world, because I get to spend some time in the college world. I've been lucky enough to be at 4 different schools over these 35 years. I was at a country club for 21 years, at Bluegrass, 7 at another club. So I enjoy the club world as well, but then also getting to kind of travel and do stuff for USPTA or the PTR, clinicians doing testing back in the old days, but just kind of being, have some variety. I think that's been a good thing for me because it allows me to stay fresh. I'm not getting burnout on it. I don't ever want to be burnt out. I've said many times, like, look, if I win the mega lottery and get like $1 billion, I'm just going to keep doing what I do. I just do it for free because this is, I think, what I'm supposed to be doing in life. So
Yeah.
pretty lucky.
I think we're all lucky to be in this. I mean, we get to do something that's really fun and get paid for it. So
Yeah.
I think we sometimes forget that, and it's good to be reminded of that for sure. And how did you get into announcing, MCing, and all that?
Well, so in Nashville, everybody's in the music business. They're a singer, they're a songwriter, they're doing something, musician. I think I'm the only person in Nashville that doesn't want to be in the music business, doesn't sing or write lyrics. I do dance, but you got to pay me if you want me to dance. Um, and so I don't know. I think being around entertainment and stuff all the time just kind of helped me find a way to do that. I working with the Music City Tennis Tournament for so many years. We would do a lot of promos and things for the event, and I just kind of fell in love with doing those things. I don't know that I'm good at it, but I don't mind being in front of a camera, and I don't mind just kind of like going with the flow. And I just kind of felt like it was kind of fun. I just mainly do things when I'm having fun with it. So I just kind of fell into it a little bit and have some friends in the industry that said, look, would you fill in here? Would you fill in there? And it's just kind of taken off. So,
That's really cool. Do you ever get nervous?
I mean, yeah, yes, definitely. If you don't get nervous, then you're not really into it. But yeah, I mean, I think after a while, you just kind of embrace it and you just kind of go out there. I got nervous one time. This was years ago. I was speaking at the conference at the Australian Open for their big coaches conference there. And right before I was to go on, I wasn't feeling great because on the flight over, my eardrum had kind of ruptured, and I was still a little bit like woozy and kind of dizzy sometimes. And so I told the guy who was organizing, and I think only two people knew this. I said, "Look, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it through this because I'm not feeling great, but I'm not going to stop." And they had a medical team like behind the courts waiting in case I just couldn't do it. But I was nervous about like fainting or not feeling good and just kind of passing out during the presentation. But it didn't stop me from going out there and hopefully gave them a good presentation. But yeah, I was really nervous that one time.
Well, that's a good reason, I guess, to be nervous. I think I would be nervous just in general, but the nerves eventually turn into excitement, and then you just kind of get through it. I think. But what about speaking at conferences? I saw that you've been a speaker at several conferences. Well, first, like, why do you do that? Is that something that you're passionate about? And what do you normally talk about? What are your presentations about?
It's kind of interesting there because kind of going through this whole process of running the charity event and being connected with people in the music industry. One of the things I've learned is that from the people that go out there on the stage with country music or music, they go out there to entertain. And a lot of tennis coaches, and I might get blasted for this, but a lot of tennis coaches are just kind of like really, really into themselves. And they think they're experts and their way is the right way. And I sat through a lot of conferences. I go and I consume it, and I absorb stuff.
Yeah.
I look at it differently. Look, I want to go out there and I want to entertain the people first and then give them a couple of little bit of nuggets of information that I find from my day-to-day life. I'm a huge fan of anybody who speaks at a conference that is actually on Monday going back to their club or their facility and actually doing the work, as opposed to there's some people that are in the industry that all they do is speak. They go around speaking at different places, but they're not ever really on the court. I'm kind of one of those people. I don't never want to lose my street cred. I want to keep it real because on a Monday I'll be teaching a lesson to a beginner. On Tuesday we'll have college team practice, and for me, I think that hopefully makes me a better coach. But then also too, what I want to do is when I go to these conferences and speak and just share stuff that I see on a day-to-day basis and that I experience, and I think that's what maybe connects with people. And also too, I just try to entertain you.
I think there's so much there that I can relate to. Definitely lots of egos in the tennis world. I mean, we could talk about that, I think, for hours.
Right.
Even just like scrolling through Instagram and just watching some coaches, you're just like, oh my gosh, like, can we all just get along?
Yeah.
We're all just doing that like a really fun sport, and I don't think we all have to teach the same way. There's so much, it can be somewhat toxic, I feel like, where coaches like put each other down because they're not teaching the exact same way as the other one. So yeah, it's a little bit crazy. And I like that you like to keep the street cred, because I'm the same way with when it comes to like, if you're I think that if you're a director, like you should still be on the court teaching at all the ages, right? And all the levels, not just have like your little niche, but like also every now and then like work with a little kid. Why not? I think a lot of times directors are like absolutely no kids. And I think it just kind of pushes you and helps you relate to your staff, you know? So as a speaker, I think you have to be involved in the industry to kind of know what you're talking about.
100%. Yeah, I mean, if you're not connected to all the pieces of the tennis world, and what's interesting is this is a hot topic, but pickleball is part of the tennis world because it's right there.
Yeah.
And I see all the time these tennis directors and pros are like, we're just nothing to do with pickleball, and it's just tennis. And the world has changed, and the tennis industry has changed, and it's more of a racket sports industry now. And I don't see it changing. So, I mean, yeah, you've got to be connected.
Yeah. What about, and you don't have to answer if you're not comfortable, but because I've already asked some people, not on the podcast, but just kind of talking to people, do you normally get paid for speaking at conferences? The feedback that I've gotten is that you don't get paid for that. And to me, like that's kind of wild. But in your experience, do you get compensated for that?
Well, I mean, here's the real world reasoning behind kind of why some people don't get paid or whatnot. The money in tennis has just kind of slowly gone away. I mean, I can remember years and years ago, you just look at from a sponsorship standpoint. When I got into this back in the late '80s, say for instance USPTA, you got in, you remember, and Prince instantly sent you boxes of free stuff, shoes, clothes, rackets, everything. There was money in, there was a lot of money in tennis, and yes, there are times when, yeah, you get paid very well, but then the reality is the tennis industry is struggling in some respects for money. Some of these workshops and conferences, they don't have enough money coming in to just keep the lights on, meaning just pay the court fees and the basics. So it is really all over the map. I mean, the idea that some tennis coach can just make a living traveling and speaking, maybe there was a small window of time years ago that those days are gone unless you won Wimbledon or you played on the tour, which some of those people that come and talk that played the tour are horrible at delivering information. And that's another hour of stuff that we probably want to do when the camera is not rolling. But there's, yeah, it's, I get paid sometimes very well. Sometimes you do it for free just because you love it. And if you're afraid to do something like that for free, then I think you need to kind of take a look in the mirror, because part of what we do is kind of giving back, and whether it be your time or just your knowledge, I think is hugely important.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a huge aspect to that, to giving back and just helping the industry overall. But I just wasn't aware that was the situation. I always kind of thought that, I mean, I guess I didn't give it much thought. I just kind of assumed that everybody was getting paid some amount of money. But for a lot of the feedback that I've gotten is that maybe you get your conference expenses paid for, and that's really it. I was just
That's the
surprised.
thing. Yeah, I mean, once you run conferences or workshops, or
Yeah.
even just a lunch and learn where you're paying for the lunch. Well, you go to any restaurant, there's $1,000 right there for a handful of people, and the
Yeah.
money's going to come from somewhere, and we don't get it from the USTA, and it's not there from sponsors like it used to be. So if you don't have the money coming in to run the event, you don't have money to pay the speakers. So.
Yeah. It's a sponsorship thing for sure. Yeah. And what do you normally talk about in these conferences? You say you're there to entertain. Like, is there a specific area that you focus on? Is it college coaching or just coaching in general? Like, how do you go about choosing what you want to talk about? And the reason I ask this because I personally would like to see more a variety of speakers. So I want to encourage people to consider this in their career, to give back, but also to make, yeah, to make the industry better, right? So how do you go about choosing a topic?
I think early on, what I would do is I presented to different organizations, hey, I'd like to talk on this particular topic. or that particular topic, and just trying to find out where am I? Because everybody's got something that they're really strong with, or they got a huge background. I think I'm lucky in that I'm kind of like that utility knife. First off, if you want me to talk about something that I've never done, I'm not going to do that. But because of the variety of things that I've been involved with over this career, I think that I can share. And really, for me, that's what it is. It's like, look, the first 2 minutes, I want to just kind of connect with you, entertain you a little bit. If I can get you to smile in the first 2 minutes, then I've got you, right? And it's no different than when an artist comes out on stage and they go into that first song, they connect you with them, and then after that, then they can kind of go whatever direction. But I kind of feel like I do the same thing, is just take what the conference needs or wants from that particular spot and try to deliver on it. But once again, I've never gone out there and just talked about stuff just because, especially if I've never had any experience with it, because that's not me, and that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for really good information. And I think most of the time it's like, what can I give you that on Monday when you go back home, you can put into play? And that's really it.
Yeah. And let's kind of shift gears here into some of the event stuff. I saw that with the Music City Tennis Invitational, that you guys raised a ton of money for your charity, which is awesome. But what do you think was the key to their success with that event?
So this past year, 2023, was the 50th year anniversary of the event. And it started back in 1973 with some really iconic country music and industry people. And it had this legacy of, whether it be, Kenny Rogers or Brooks and Dunn or Reba McEntire, all these people that are kind of country music royalty. Nashville is the home of country music, and a lot of these people that were in the music industry played tennis, and that's how this event started. And I got involved probably, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, I guess it was. And what I tried to do with the event was give more of a tennis event vibe to it, as opposed to just a bunch of country music people, industry people getting together and playing tennis. And it became like a family event every year. And we had an opportunity to get sponsors back in the day, and more sponsors. And when you're doing something fun for a good cause, I think that's when people will jump on board. And we were lucky to really put out there a really fun event year after year with good people. And it doesn't hurt when you're able to have country music people stop by and either play in the tournament or do promos for you, things like that. So that was very helpful.
That's really cool. Are you a big country music fan?
I mean, I think you have to be if you live in Nashville, requirement. Otherwise, they'll kick me out. Kind of growing up, not really. But yes, I mean, I really love it. I mean, within 10 miles of any direction of where you live in Nashville, you're going to run into somebody that's country music royalty, and all your neighbors are in country music and music industry, and it's a different vibe down here.
Yeah, for sure. I think being in Tennessee in general, like I went to school in Tennessee, and I actually used to not like country until maybe right after I graduated or close to graduation time. I started kind of getting into it. But you can't help it, I think, if you're in Tennessee.
It gets you. And honestly, country music isn't country music anymore. It's kind of a pop kind of a thing. Really not what it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. What got me into country was the Dixie Chicks.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely love them. So that was like my entry point. And then I started listening to other artists, and then I got into country. My husband now, he's a huge country guy. He loves it way more than I do.
Your favorite country music artist that's current, not Dixie Chicks, but somebody new.
Zach Bryan, probably. I don't know. I don't really listen to a whole lot of country now, but yeah, I love the Dixie Chicks. All the, even Reba, Taylor Swift, even though she's not country anymore. All the women. I think the women voices are spectacular in country. Miranda Lambert, like, oh, I love her. So yeah. And so in general, what do you think? And I asked this to one of our previous guests who's doing this huge event called Racket X. But I kind of like to get some feedback from people that have done big events like yourself. In your opinion, what do you think makes an event special?
That's a great question. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you just have to have a connection with people. People want to feel like they're a part of whatever you're doing. I don't care if it's music, tennis, pickleball, or throwing darts. They want to feel connected. There has to be some kind of a party vibe to some extent with whatever you're doing. And that goes to whether it's a tennis conference or whatever, there has to be some coolness, little pockets of coolness within sprinkled in it. And if you can do that and deliver fun, entertaining, educational opportunities, things like that, then people are going to want to come back. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just trying to put butts in the seat and then get butts back in the seats at the end of the day when they come back. And I'm a huge fan of like minor league baseball and like minor league hockey, because you go to these nowhere towns and you watch what they have to do to get people to spend $10 to come and watch no name baseball or no name soccer or whatever. And you learn a lot about how to entertain people. Big fan of like Savannah Bananas. I mean, those kill it with entertaining you.
Yeah, yeah. I have to agree. And I mean, I don't remember, maybe our tennis, at least the ones I've been to, they seem very serious, the tennis conferences. There's not a lot of fun, I would say, in those conferences. I mean, yeah, you're meeting people and you're learning a lot. All the presentations, I thought that was really good. I was at the PTR here in Saddleburg, but I wouldn't say like fun. I don't know. What do you find fun in a tennis conference?
I think that you have to find ways to connect the coaches that attend. Like, see that the night they had the head party at PTR, I don't know if you were there,
Oh
but
yeah, well, that's my own fault. I didn't go to any parties.
come on.
That's my
Yeah,
own fault.
my buddy DJ Mad Links was there, and I mean, when you got somebody like that, that's full of energy that can kind of connect with people and get them hyped up, play good music. I mean, I think just finding ways to create a fun experience, and then the next day, bam, you go and you're sitting, listening and learning, and then lunchtime there's a fun component as well. I think too, just one of the hard parts for us is connecting with the younger coaches coming in. Is there look the importance of connecting with coaches and building your network is huge. Like if you want to be in this industry for a long time, then you've got to start building this network of coaches that you can reach out to or connect with or contact. And that's what's going to help make you more successful than just how many hours you're teaching or how many conferences you go to. Your network is huge.
Absolutely. And that's a tough part, I think, at least for some people. Like I would probably put myself in that category where going to an event like that and where nobody knows you, nobody knows who you are, you don't know a lot of the people there. It's kind of tough, right? It's kind of intimidating to go in and like introduce yourself to people. So, but it's a good practice for sure.
I got a solution for that. So
Yeah.
anytime that one of the listeners is at a conference, they just come find me.
There you go.
We'll chat it up and I'll get them connected.
Ah, there you go. That's good. So they just have to find you. You are with like all of the associations, seems like. Was that kind of just by accident, or were you kind of like, oh, I have to belong to all of them? Is there a certain reason why you're in all of them? Because I think most people are like either PTR, USPTA, or college coach too. So you're with the ITA as well.
And nothing I do in the industry is by accident. I try to do everything. There's a plan behind it. And for me, I mean, yes, there's USPTA, PTR. I've been a member of both, very active in both. I love tennis. I love the industry. And there's so many ways for us to be divided by letters or numbers or locations or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I just by design said, look, I'm going to be Switzerland. I look, I want everybody to do well, because at the end of the day, if we're all working toward the same goal, then tennis is better. I remember this Sports Illustrated article, "Is Tennis Dying?" And it was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. This was probably back in the late 80s, early 90s. And that one has always stayed with me because I mean, yes, we could see tennis die a bit if we don't all work together. And I don't care if you're USPTA or PTR, USTA, at the end of the day, everybody's got to sit at the table. Everybody's got to work to make it better for the sport, for the industry, not just for their little faction or their little kingdom or whatever their agenda is. It's got to be for the betterment of the sport. And unfortunately, we don't really have that a lot. There are a lot of people that are just kind of doing their own little thing out there. And from where I sit, it hurts us.
I think too, like each association is a little bit different, and they're helping their members in their own way. And I know like this is kind of a weird topic for people because I've had several guests on the podcast that, kind of think that we should have just one big association. I actually like the fact that there's different ones because I think competition is healthy. You push each other and you make each other better. It's that's why we have Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, right? Because they pushed each other. I don't think they would have been as great as they are if it was just them the whole time. So I think it is important to have a little bit of competition amongst the different teaching organizations and whatnot. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think a lot of the coaches, they kind of are in their own little world at their clubs. They
Yeah.
don't know what's going on, not even in their own city, but their state, but their region, or globally. I mean, United States is the only country that has multiple teaching organizations that are apart from the federation. Being removed from the USTA, I think, is a good thing for us. It gives us a voice. If you travel, and I've been incredibly lucky to literally travel the world because of tennis, you see these other countries and these other groups of pros and coaches, they're all under one umbrella. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but there's a lot of things that can't be done when you're governed by one group, whether it be for play, coaching, tournaments, you name it. If it's just one person telling you how you can do it, the way you can do it, I don't know that that's good for the sport.
It's good to have that variety. And I like that I would like for them to remain different, different from each other. I think a lot of times they try to match each other too. But I think it is important that they kind of do their own thing because I think they have different things to offer to the pros. But that's just my opinion, but I don't
No, it's good. I like it. We can be friends now. I like this.
know. All right. So what about some changes that you would like to see in the tennis industry? You have been in this for a long time. You've seen a lot of stuff. Is there anything that kind of like irks you about it, that you kind of just would love to see change?
Yeah, I think I'd like to see a ban on videos of coaches on social media doing hand feeding drills. That just literally is nonstop. Every time you open up anything, it's another coach somewhere just hand feeding. And I mean, I'm kind of being a little serious, but also being a little funny because it's everywhere. And I think what happens is the consumer, the average player, looks at it and goes, "Oh, well, my coach doesn't do that, so maybe I'm not with the right person." And everything can be done in moderation and at the right time in the right space, but that one just kind of bugs me a lot. I don't know what I would change other than maybe try to, I think, better communication. Transparency and communication would be great. I'd love to see more funding being put into these smaller pro tournaments, pro circuit. If people knew what was going on at the pro circuit level and how tough it is for those events to actually exist, they'd be shocked. But without that, we don't have a road for up and coming players. And if we don't have that, or we're not able to kind of connect with the communities, I'd just like to see more funding put into that so we could get more opportunities for players and grow the sport through that aspect. But then also too, just better communication across the board. I mean, I think right now pickleball is kicking our butt from a tennis standpoint, and that and I realize it's like the hot topic and it's cool and sexy right now. You basically all you need is a pulse to be able to play pickleball. But but yeah, we've got to find a way to kind of up our game with tennis and give it a little bit more cool factor, make it sexy again.
Yeah,
We can bring sexy back to tennis.
yeah, I think that definitely pickleball is shaking up people in the tennis world to kind of wake up because I think maybe some of us were resting on our laurels a little bit too much. And now here comes along pickleball. And now it's like, oh, shoot, I got to work a little bit harder to like attract people and keep people engaged in tennis. So competition again, right? Competition is healthy. So even though it is a competition to tennis, pickleball, padel, they're competing against each other. You're competing for the same kind of people, athletes to spend money in your sport. I think they're going to push each other and hopefully all grow together. So yeah, I like that. I think even like, shoot, like at the conference, I mean, this was my first PTR conference that I went to, but like the pickleball part was
Yeah.
packed. You went
Yeah.
to the tennis part, it was like maybe 20 people. All the pickleball stuff, on court stuff had,
Yep.
it looked like a big crowd. Yeah. So you can see it, and you can see it when you go to the courts, unfortunately, right? There's a lot of people, there's a lot of interest.
Well, I mean, right now there's not a lot of regulation. There's not a lot of oversight over pickleball. Look, you can set up and go and play anywhere, and it's easy, and there's no one telling you you can't. And
Yeah.
too much right now is happening in tennis where you can't do this, you can't do that. We're all kind of fighting for the same people, and that pot of people that are playing tennis is shrinking and shrinking, and we're not filling it back up quick enough. And that's one of the things we've got to do. We've got to do a better job of just getting people back on the tennis court and just letting them play without it being too cumbersome.
Yeah. Are you involved at all with other racket sports?
Yes, I just kind of by design, I try to make sure that I'm connected with these different things so I have an understanding of it. I'm a global ambassador for pop tennis, and actually, while I was in Australia for those 2 or 3 weeks, did a lot of work with Tennis Australia and pop tennis, play and teach pickleball, touch tennis, trying to get into padel a little bit, but there's a limited number of courts and spaces out there. But yeah, I mean, I want to be able to play it and experience it and be around these other sports because they're complementary to tennis. If we look at them as just a threat, then that's what they'll be. But at the end of the day, we just want people to be out there on a court. It's much easier to get somebody into tennis from another sport than it is just straight off the couch. And that's been my experience. So having an understanding of these other sports, just like having an understanding of running a tournament or a public facility or a private facility, just having an understanding of these different things, I hope will make me a better coach and representative of the industry. And at the end of the day, that's all I can do is be better, try to be better myself so that maybe I can help others be more educated or better.
Yeah. And bring more people to your facility too. If you're at a club or even like a park that has multiple courts or multiple racket sports, I mean, you gotta be offering all of them if you can, right?
Yeah.
Or the more you can offer, the better. So absolutely. What is touch tennis, by the way? I never heard of that one.
Oh my gosh, touch tennis is really cool. It is 19-inch racket played on basically the size, just a little bit smaller than a pickleball court. It's a foam ball. You get one serve overhand and you play just regular tennis. So imagine playing mini tennis, like what we would do with the kids inside the service boxes. So it's huge in Europe. Rashid started it over in London many, many years ago. And there's a lot of countries, Italy and Spain and some other countries that are huge with touch tennis, but it's basically mini tennis. I can't physically, after a couple of different knee surgeries, I just can't physically play a set of singles on a full size tennis court. I just can't do it anymore, but I can play on a smaller touch tennis court and still play singles there. And so for me, it's been kind of cool and fun to be a part of and run some tournaments, run some events, and once again, offer people something that they may want to try or do and fill some court time. So yeah, touch tennis, you should look it up. There's a wave kind of moving across the U.S. It's kind of small and hidden areas, but it's coming along.
So you play it on a tennis court then?
I could play it I could just literally chalk out a spot on a grass court. I could do it on a lawn. We've played on a parking lot, a gym floor. Basically, it's about 40 feet by 20 feet, roughly, and mini net, a foam ball. And yeah, you literally play it anywhere that's flat.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. So, but I'll play anything with a paddle. I joke around that I don't have a dining table in my house, but I have a ping pong table. And I need to grow up eventually and actually get a dining table. So I'll play anything.
You're gonna have to try touch tennis. I'm gonna get you connected with some people, and you got to try it out.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. All right. What about the Grand Slam and double bagel moment of your career so far? So Grand Slam being the highest, most proud moment of your career that you've had, and the double bagel, well, you know what that means.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. So one of my goals was to speak at every one of the Grand Slam coaches conferences, and I've been lucky enough to do all of those except for the French Open. So anybody from the French Tennis Federation, you're looking for a fun guy to come speak, then I'm your guy. But yeah, so for me, just being able to travel to all these different countries and share, that's kind of my big moment. I think, honestly, being one of maybe, I think, 16 master professionals in both USPTA and PTR is that night was very special when that happened. because there's not too many of us out there. Once again, makes us just old, I think. The gray hairs are really coming through. The double bagel.
No, that's not true because there's a lot of coaches that don't get to do that. That's a huge accomplishment.
So yeah, pretty fortunate there. But actually, maybe the double bagel was years ago. Kelly Everton, who really good player from the tour. I played him actually at the PTR symposium. They used to run a prize money tournament during the symposium, and I draw him in the first round. And this is when we were at the Vandermeer Tennis Center. They put our first round match, on like kind of the center court there. And I was younger. I was playing okay, but I play him, and he had literally just retired from the tour like 3 months before that. And we go out there to play, and he just beats me down in like 15 minutes. And there was at one point I was up like, I don't know, 40 love, and I missed like the next four balls straight, right? And he wins 0-0. And we're sitting around talking afterwards. He goes, "Mate, I was trying to give you that game so it wouldn't be the bagel, but you just kept blowing it." And I was like, "Yeah, I did. I was an idiot." So I think I was just too caught up in just playing this guy who just finished an amazing career, and all my mates are over there on the side, just kind of like giving me a hard time as I'm playing. So yeah, that was a slow one, but fun still.
Yeah, literal double
A
bagel.
literal double bagel. Yes.
When's your next speaking engagement? Do you have any conference coming up that you want to refer people to?
Yeah, actually, Friday I leave to go up to Minneapolis, the Northern Coaches Conference. It's a kind of a joint venture with high school coaches, USTA, PTR. I think they do one really big one for the state up there. So I'll be speaking Friday night and Saturday. And yeah, I have not done that conference before. Pretty excited about that because two things. I'm going to do an on-court presentation for developing players, and then also too, I'm going to do an off-court presentation on kind of the pathway to college tennis. For me, I really enjoy the opportunity to talk about college tennis because most people look at college tennis as just D1 or nothing. And as you know, there is a ton of amazing college tennis out there at these different levels below D1. And yeah, so anytime I get to talk about college tennis and connect with coaches, then I really love that. So be in Minnesota this weekend.
Very cool. And I love college tennis. I was involved with college tennis. I just got out of it because I think it's really hard to make it in college tennis, just financially to
Yeah.
make a decent amount of money in it. It's hard. And I think you have to be willing to move around a lot. I really enjoyed it. And I totally agree that it's not just D1. And I think that's an American thing. I think that a lot of the kids here, people complain like why a lot of the teams are international. And it's because like the American kids, they'll only consider a big school. And
Kids, or is it the parents?
or the parents, or they just want to go to a big party school and like, watch football and party and just have that experience. They're not necessarily that passionate about like being on a tennis team. So it's tough because that's what you're competing against as a coach. But you're totally right. I mean, I coach at a community college, and we were top of the nation. And like these girls were transferring to top D1 schools after they played for us. And I mean, the level was so great, and I don't think a lot of people realize like how deep it actually is. And at the PTR, like that 25K, oh my gosh, I mean, that's not college, but like the level was amazing. And I mentioned this on my last episode, like there was nobody there watching.
Yeah.
And like that's so sad to me because those players deserve better. Like it's so good. Anyway, I know I kind of jumped from college to pro.
But somewhat connected because the guys and the girls that are playing these smaller events, the 10s and the 15s and the 25s, they're coming from college or they're in college still. And yeah, like I said earlier, there needs to be more funding for that. There needs to be more promotion to let people know about it. I mean, gosh, any day of the week you can go and find a great tennis somewhere in Cary, North Carolina, or Boise, Idaho, or whatever, and people just don't know about it. And these guys and gals are out there kind of fighting it out, and we have to do a better job of informing the public that it's there.
Yeah. Do you ever take like your team to watch a tournament or anything like that?
Yeah, we've been pretty lucky because I've got a lot of good friends in the industry, and whenever we go north to like Cincinnati and places up Ohio and whatnot, a couple of times we've stopped by the Western and Southern tournament. And it's, even though it's like not during the tournament, it's off season, they've been kind enough to give our guys and girls a chance to go and visit. Literally, they got a full on private tour of the entire facility. And at the end of it, they go out on stadium court and hit some balls and take some photos and videos. And yeah, I mean, I think for me, exposing our players always to just the world of tennis. Last year, I helped run a 100K down at Waco, and we took a couple of our players and our assistant coach down to that event for a week, and they got to see behind the scenes of what pro tennis is like. Our assistant coach got to warm up with a couple of the players, and just, I think exposing them is huge. Whatever we can do to help foster this next generation and let them see behind the curtain, I think is huge for us to do.
Yeah, I think every parent of a junior player should take their kids to watch a college tennis match or to watch a 25K, just to watch how great the level is, but just to experience it. I think, how fun is it to watch college tennis? Gosh, I love just the environment.
If we want people just to come out and watch it, a lot of the bigger schools are doing a great job at giveaways and stuff like that to get people out there. But the fact that you got to give away food and T-shirts just to get people to come watch Baylor or Tennessee or Georgia, I mean, it seems ridiculous, because the guys and girls that are playing right there are going to be some of the people you're going to see on TV within a year or 2 or 3 down the road. And there's just, as you know, there's just such electricity at a college match at any level. It gets in your bones, and you just get, as you know, you get kind of addicted to it.
I love it. I even went last year to Orlando to watch the NCAAs for Division II. And
Yeah.
I had a blast. It took me back to my college days, but I just love the atmosphere. It's so fun.
Yeah, you got to see it.
Yeah. Well, Bill, thank you so much for talking to us today. Best of luck with everything. And I know people can find you on Instagram at Bill Riddle, right? I think it's something like that.
Bill Riddle official, yes.
Bill Riddle official.
There's another one out there, but he races horses. So I thought, you know what? I got to make sure I differentiate myself.
Well, you picked the right word.
There we go.
Well, thanks, Bill.